You're listening to the Champ Off-Road Podcast, presented by Amsoil.
You are listening to the Champ Off-Road Podcast, presented by Amsoil. Joining us today, he's a 3-time Pro Light champion and one of our West Coast talents, Ryan Beat. Ryan, what's up? Looks like you're staying busy in the shop today.
Yeah, we've been trying to stay busy, during all this COVID stuff and everything craziness that the world's going through right now. We kind of all decided, that it was going to pass and it was going to blow over, and we needed to be ready that once it did, we're ready to go racing. So, we stayed busy, continued having fun in the shop. There's no place that me and the guys would rather be. So, other than the races, that is. But for that matter, just getting ready. We're excited and ready to go racing here in a few weeks.
Now that Spring Crandon has been postponed to September, our first one, not for a few more weeks, we're looking at mid-July for ERX Motor Park. Does that give you a little bit of, cushion, a time to relax a little bit, or is it just business as usual?
To be honest, it's just business as usual. It's unfortunate the first Crandon got pushed back, but I understand the circumstances that everyone's in, so it just changes our schedule a little bit. We adjusted what we're doing for travel and adjusted, when we're racing. So basically us as a team, just business as usual, getting ready to go race ERX is round one.
Now this year, you're actually making up the jump up to the Pro 2 class. What are some of the changes you've had to make to your racing program to accommodate the bigger truck and obviously the more laps you're going to see on track?
Yeah, so realistically, we just added crew. We needed more guys. The truck is bigger. So with that matter of, coming into a new class, it took quite a bit of testing to get comfortable, get the truck dialed to where we feel that it's capable of going out and winning. So it just took more guys. I mean, the more people you can have on your team, the faster and more efficiently things go. So we just basically added crew and got ready to go racing. We've done a ton of testing. We feel really comfortable at this point and confident that we're going to go out and be a contender.
Now, you've built your own race team from scratch, and you're so hands-on with your equipment today still, and that's a huge undertaking. How much of a learning curve has it been to take on this Pro 2?
It's been a learning curve for sure. They're quite a bit different than the Pro Light. They require quite a bit different parts and whatnot. So it's really been actually quite intriguing to me to dive into it and learn the different style of parts that are used on these vehicles. Obviously, they're a little bit bigger, a little bit more expensive, a little bit more intense. So with that, it's actually been kind of a cool learning curve for me, dive right in and really take on the responsibility and the role of trying to lead and steer this ship of learning this truck, learning these parts, learning what they do, learning underdrives, converters, transmissions. So it's really been a fun learning curve for me.
Now, living in California, you say you do all this work on the truck and everything else involved with traveling. What are some of the difficulties that you face, living in California and racing here in the Midwest?
Obviously, it's just the overlapping schedules. If there was a way that we could get schedules to not interfere at all, A, and then B, getting schedules so that they were, I guess, they lend a hand towards us. So basically, instead of zigzagging like the second half of this year, my semi is going to be zigzagging across the country to be able to make all these races and do the races that we've wanted to do. It would be cool if we could kind of, get to a point where once we head to the Midwest or to the East, we race out there and do all those races before coming back. Obviously, with that, it complicates having plane fights, fuel expenses, trip permits, fuel permits, drivers for motorhomes, semis, that type of thing. So it does complicate it quite a bit, but it's just being strategic and planning and laying out, your schedule as to what you're doing, where you're going, and when it's happening so that nothing gets overlooked.
So, of course, you're from the West Coast and you've found a lot of success out there. Why do you come racing in the Midwest? Why do you love coming up here to race in the upper states?
To be honest, I come strictly because the fans. The fans are the greatest in the world. I've never seen fans like this before. And our sport's nothing without the fans, The tracks are cool. But most importantly, it's the fans. I love being there. I love seeing the fans, seeing the people, and how enthusiastic they are about our sport. It really kind of reignites the flame for me, is seeing that people love our sport that much. These are true hardcore, diehard fans of our sport, and it gives us hope. It's cool. It excites me and really kind of relights that flame every time I go to the Midwest, that how enthusiastic these fans are about our sport.
I know we talked about ERX already, but speaking of fans and you coming up to the Midwest, what are your thoughts on ERX? In Elk River, Minnesota here. What are your thoughts on the season opener being there, and what do you have to do differently to prepare for that certain event?
To be honest, I don't think we're going to prepare any different. I'm going to prepare and just like we have been going into any race. It doesn't matter the track. Obviously, your gear change and converters and fine tuning on the truck, as far as that goes, will change just a little bit. But for me, it doesn't change anything. I really like ERX. I have a great time there. It's one of my favorite tracks across the country to race at. So I'm really excited to get back there. And heck, if we kick it off there first round, why not? It's pretty cool. It'll be cool to get back there again this year and see the fans. I know every year that track and that venue is growing, and the fans continue to come in every year more and more. So I'm excited to get back there this year and see what kind of fan count we got this year.
Definitely one of the most rapidly growing tracks on the circuit. Now, last year you had an epic battle, and I can't remember if this was on Friday or Saturday, but at any rate, it went on for the whole race pretty much. Can you share with us anything that you may have learned from that battle that you're going to be focusing on this year? I know you said that your prep is going to be pretty much the same, but any notes you can take from last year into this one?
Yeah, kind of just learning that track and how to race that track a little differently than what I did last year. Obviously, I didn't win that race. I led the whole race till the last lap. Mm-hmm. It's still one of the ones that'll stick out for me, stick out in my mind for as long as I live. Kind of just getting that one taken away from me, stolen from me. So, when it comes down to those last lap battles of positioning yourself in better positions and better lines, when it comes to those last lap battles of that track are very important. Obviously, that split lane is a big deal. And what you think may be working the whole race doesn't end up working that last lap for a magical miracle pass like it did to me. So it's one thing that we'll keep in mind, one thing we'll keep an eye on, look at, and watch throughout the race as the race develops. So it's cool. I'm excited. That split lane adds a challenge that not many tracks have. So I'm excited to get my shot back at kind of stealing that one back again.
Well, let's take it back. For people who may not know this, you were a former pro motocross racer. How did you transition from two wheels to four?
Honestly, it was a right time, right place type deal. I had a family friend. I was healing up from a motocross injury, and I had a family friend that said, hey, we're going to go racing off-road. We have these side-by-sides that we're going to race. They're basically a Yamaha street bike engine inside of an R1 chassis, and they're called the SR1s. Would you be interested in coming racing one with us? And I just figured my honest answer back to that was with a question, and just, is there any money that can be made? I'm hurt. I have a house payment to make, and I need to make some money. So if I'm not making any money winning or racing, that I needed to be looking for another job. And they said, yeah, you can win some money. So I went out and ended up doing really good. I think the first time I ever raced, I got third, and then the second time I won. So from there, it was just a rapidly evolving snowball that just kept growing and growing. And, 10 short years later, here we are.
That's cool. Yeah, I know you've been racing motocross almost your whole life up until you started in off-road. Do you still get out and ride motorcycles?
Yeah, I actually still, to this day, I just started riding a lot again. It had been, for about 3 or 4 year span there, I was really focused on building my business and building my career in off-road to where I was working almost every minute. It was, I was very focused on that, so I didn't want to get on a bike and jeopardize myself getting hurt or, just lose focus of what my goal was. And just recently over the past year and a half, I've really started riding my bike again quite a bit. And now, most recent months, I've been riding about 2 days a week and really starting to enjoy riding again. And it, helps me keep my mind clear and, stay in shape is the biggest thing. So, yeah, I've been able to get back on a bike and really enjoying my time on the bike. And I notice it helps me in the truck quite a bit too. So,
And speaking of bikes, is your sister Kristen Beat?
yes, yes, that is my sister.
Gotcha. Okay, I did not put two and two together until like mid last season, and I'm a huge fan of hers. So your sister, of course, she reports on Arena Cross and a handful of other projects. Is it safe to say you come from a racing family?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely safe. My dad raced midgets and sprint cars professionally for almost 10 years, and my uncle raced stock cars and at the local level and the regional level. My other uncle was a mechanic for factory Kawasaki back in the 80s, motocross. So, yeah, me and my sister grew up surrounded by racing.
That's awesome.
Yes, it's been cool.
Well, in 2012, you earned your first professional truck win. Take us back to that day.
Yeah, like I said, it's only been 10 years, and, 2012 was only my second year in off-road. So to go back and revisit that win in Reno is pretty epic and pretty crazy. When I sit back and think now what it means to jump into a new sport, and then jump into a new sport and within a year win at the highest level you can win at, in a professional truck class. It's pretty epic. I'm excited. I don't think there's too many guys that can say that within their first season they went out and won in a professional truck class. So for me to be able to sit back and look at that, it brings pride. It shows hard work and dedication can kind of get you anywhere. For me that day was epic, and it really kind of it proved to me, because even at that time I was still on the fence. Okay, is this what I'm supposed to be doing, or should I still be chasing the dream of racing professional supercross and motocross? And for me, it kind of really solidified the fact within my own mind that off-road's where I should be. It solidified the fact that I could do well in off-road. It wasn't just a rich guy's sport, that if I worked hard enough that I could win there too. So for me, it was I guess the first stepping stone to a long process that, I guess a journey that we've been on ever since.
Where did you get the nickname Rowdy Beat?
It was actually from my crew chief back in the day, Roy Vaughn. He came to work for me, and we were having a good time, and I was kind of known for being a little wild and a little crazy and a little rough on the track, and we were watching Days of Thunder one day, just on the way to one of the races, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to call you Rowdy." I said, "For what?" And he goes, "Because you're just like Rowdy Burns from the movie Days of Thunder." So ever since then, it stuck, and everybody started from that moment on calling me Rowdy, and it kind of just stuck, and we rolled with it, and it was cool. It definitely suited me probably better back then when I was rough and kind of mean and a pretty rough driver, but definitely since then, grown up a little bit, settled down a little bit, and focused on winning races instead of being so rough on the track.
So, all right, Rowdy, who are your motorsports heroes and why?
I definitely have a couple of them. Obviously, Dale Earnhardt just was a badass to begin with, and everything and anything he did. He was an intimidator. He was good. He was mean. He was fierce. He was everything that the Intimidator was. So definitely Dale Earnhardt. I'd have to say Brian Deegan. I look up to Brian quite a bit. He, if you can name one thing that guy sucked at, I'll be very impressed, because anything that I know of Brian Deegan, when he sets his mind to it, he goes out and wins, and he accomplishes whatever goal he sets forth. So I got to give it to him. If it's not racing, it's raising his kids right. It's circle track. It's off road. It's supercross. It's freestyle. Everything that guy's done, he's done at the top level. So I kind of really look up to him and admire what he's been able to do on the track and off the track. And then, man, there's so many guys. Rob McCachran. I mean, people that have really just Jimmy Johnson, another one. He's from my hometown, a family friend of ours. A guy with very little hope at making it, turned something into the greatest of all time. You just really kind of goes to show you when you put your mind towards a goal and wants and dreams that anything can happen.
Speaking of Diggin, that's pretty cool. You're going to be able to line up with him this summer.
Yeah, it's very cool. We've raced before in the Pro Light class, and we've always had a lot of fun racing together, and we've always been really clean racing with each other, so I don't expect that to change. We got kind of, I feel like, a mutual respect for each other. So, I look forward to it. He's one of the greatest of all time in our sport, and man, it'd be cool to get up there and battle with him, for sure.
Do you have plans of getting into a Pro 4? Like, is that the end goal, or do you think you'll, just kind of hang out in the Pro 2 and stay there and that's all you really want to do?
To be honest, I would love to get in a Pro 4. I think once the Pro 4 class, there's a way we can all kind of get together and create some stability within that class and get the car counts up, get some more TV time towards these bigger, more expensive trucks. If we can get TV time and start justifying the cost of the Pro 4, I'd love to. I think that class is the ultimate class. It's the F1 of off-road. We need to have that class. I think it's very important to have that wild. Your imagination is the only thing that's going to limit you within that class. I would love to get in that class one day, but we'll see. It's I got some goals to accomplish in the Pro 2 class. I'd like to try to focus on winning some championships in Pro 2 and go from there. Obviously, if we get to the point in Pro 2 where we were in Pro Light, where it was like there's nothing else left to accomplish, then definitely it'll be the next step is just to go on ahead and build a Pro 4. But for now, I'd like to focus on Pro 2 and possibly add a Pro Light back in the mix and maybe race both Pro Light and Pro 2. But we'll see. I'm excited to see what this year has in store and see what the schedule does and what the series do between now and going into next season. We'll see. I'm excited.
Very well said. Well, we're going to finish this podcast playing a little game. Simple game. It's called This or That. 5 simple questions. I'm going to give you 2 answers. You just got to tell me which one you like better. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Qdoba or Chipotle?
Oh, I hate Chipotle. Qdoba.
What?
Yeah, I don't know about this interview anymore.
Scrap it.
I'm Southern California. I grew up 15 minutes from the border with real authentic Mexican food, so Chipotle just doesn't quite do it for me.
Okay. Land rush start or traditional start?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd say traditional start.
Beer or wine?
Beer, for sure.
Ken Roxon, Eli Tomac.
Oh, Ken Roxon, because he's a G. Eli Tomac, too cool. He's a cool guy.
And finally, smile or game face?
Smile, for sure.
There you go.
Ryan Beat, thank you so much for taking the time today. We look forward to seeing you in exactly 1 month from today in Elk River, Minnesota at ERX Motor Park as we kick off the championship off-road season. To those of you who tuned in, now is the time to get out and support live events. We are very fortunate to be able to go racing July 10th and 11th, and I know the folks at ERX working with us very closely to make sure that we do this right and we do it safely so that there is more racing to come in the near future, and I know there will be. So if you are coming from Minnesota, from anywhere in Minnesota, you don't have a reason not to go. If you are coming from afar, now is the time to load up the truck, make a road trip out of it. Like you heard Ryan say, like he comes all the way from the West Coast. He comes up here to race the Midwest circuit for the fans. So let's do this big. I'm excited for it. I know our drivers are too. In preparation for said road trip, stock up on all the goods at amsoil.com when you enter promo code FREESHIP SNOWX at checkout. When you have $50 or more worth of product in your cart, you are going to get free shipping. So on behalf of Matt Skubik and myself, thanks for listening to the Champ Off-Road Podcast presented by AMSOIL. New episodes drop every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Champ Off-Road podcast, presented by AMSOIL.